A new century brings with it new problems. The Bitcoin scourge continues to sweep across the world, threatening the centralized control of upstanding members of governments, banks, and central banks as we enter the 21st century. Not heeding the warning of academic experts the world over, Bitcoiners threaten society with such awful things as inflation-proof money, uncensorable payments, privacy, bypassing capital controls, and banking the unbanked, as well as threatening the ability for governments to wage endless war. A perversion of our way of life, Bitcoin threatens to destabilize the debt and war-based society we all hold in such high regard, along with your future. So who are these people spreading this cryptocurrency plague? They are sound money bugs. They are Bitcoin bugs. They come from an ugly planet, a bug planet. Some say these reckless individuals just want to bring economic freedom to the world, to end fraud, and introduce competing monetary policies to ensure responsibility and accountability. But in reality, they are monetary terrorists threatening the stability of the current rock-solid legacy financial system. During these dark days, we must come together in solidarity to fight for the future of fiat currency. Because remember, government money is good money. So what can you do to help fight these Bitcoin bugs and their endless push for decentralization?
Young people from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you? Join the mobile infantry and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship.
So today, in collaboration with the mainstream media, we bring you 7 reasons not to buy Bitcoin. In a world with central bankers, there is simply no reason to buy Bitcoin. If there's a problem, don't worry. They'll just print more money to make it go away, whatever it takes. Are markets threatening to fall back to fair market value? Not today. Central bankers and the QE programs are there to save the day. Wise central bankers like the ECB's Mario Draghi and BOE's Mark Carney, ex-employees of the highly reputable Goldman Sachs, are benevolent stewards of the global financial system, looking out for you, the little guy. Let's not also forget the upstanding Janet Yellen, chair of the Federal Reserve, who ensured the world that there will not be another financial crisis in our lifetime. Sure, she went back on this, and the Federal Reserve failed to predict the last financial crisis. But if there's one thing history has proven, it's giving a handful of unelectable, unaccountable people complete control over the direction of the complex multi-trillion-dollar economies is surely the best way forward for our civilization, and not Bitcoin and math.
Every day, federal scientists are looking for new ways to kill bugs.
Your basic Bitcoin warrior is very smart. You can spread Bitcoin fast, but it's still 86% combat effective. Here's a tip. Lobby governments to ban Bitcoin. Put it down for good.
Would you like to know more?
PhD and Nobel economic experts the world over all agree that Bitcoin is the biggest bubble the world has ever seen. And if there's one thing that you should always remember, economic experts are never wrong. Experts like Robert J. Schiller, as well as Francis Coppola, Isabella Kaminska, and Nouriel Roubini, who have all been warning you since 2013 that this bubble was going to blow. Bitcoin bugs say these experts made hundreds of millions of people miss out on the investment of the decade. And even though the price has risen, we are still in the early stages of Bitcoin adoption with a huge potential return on investment. But the figures don't lie. At its peak at $20,000 per coin in 2017, Bitcoin's market cap was around $300 billion. Just to put that into perspective, that's a crazy 0.075% of $400 trillion invested in all major asset classes. An insanely saturated trade if we've ever seen one. With Bitcoin at 1 to 2% global adoption, this is one bubble you want to avoid. It is rare that any revolutionary technology ever achieves more than 2% global adoption. The Federal Network, in collaboration with the financial news media, highly recommend you avoid this saturated Bitcoin trade and instead don't miss the buying opportunities to passively invest in overpriced stocks, bonds, and real estate.
Every school kid knows that arachnids are dangerous. Would you like to know more? Everyone's doing their part. Are you? The war effort needs your effort. At work, at home, in your community.
Another reason these dangerous Bitcoin bugs say buy Bitcoin is because of the unfounded conspiracy theory that global debt levels coupled with rising interest rates have become unsustainable. This scenario, they say, will inevitably lead to major fiat inflation, debt destruction, loan delinquency, and other financial crises. Whilst on the surface it may seem there has been no deleveraging of risk reduction since 2008, with global debt up $60 trillion, the reality is at $237 trillion, global debt is more manageable than ever. In fact, governments, corporations, households, and financial institutions all over the world are benefiting from saturated debt levels. And although interest rates are starting to reverse a 40-year cycle of lower rates and threatening to implode the system, do not fear. Our heroic central banks will be here to print us to safety once again. Some in the alternate media state that the cation effect of newly created currency is unfair, as debt creation is great for asset prices held by the top 1%, but not so great for people at the bottom who later suffer a higher cost of living. But to them we say, don't worry. Thanks to the hedonic adjustments, shrinkflation, and excluding high prices items from the consumer price index calculations, we can pretend that inflation never reaches you on Main Street. So as you can see, thanks to the genius of our central planners, we no longer have to worry about unsustainable debt, and thus, there is no reason to buy Bitcoin with its inflation-proof and strictly limited supply. Instead, take out that $1 million mortgage, you lazy millennials, and buy that dream home. In light of rising Bitcoin price and adoption, international bankers head to Davos, Switzerland.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that government fiat currency, not Bitcoin, dominates this world now and always.
Would you like to know more?
Some Bitcoin bugs in the alternative financial fake news media point out that the rising anti-establishment backlash against globalism, inflation, and taxation following the 2008 global financial crisis is a good reason to buy Bitcoin. So why is this? They state that Bitcoin separates governments from economics, prevents coercion of the state, and holds centralized institutions accountable for their abuse of power and currency creation. But is this really a worldwide backlash against so-called globalist corruption following the 2008 global financial crisis? Sure, we've seen the election of Trump, a wave of populism across Europe, and Brexit in the UK. But the Federal Network, in collaboration with the mainstream media, conducted an experiment to find out what people really think. And the results paint a very different picture. The experiment? Wear a yellow vest in the streets if you love globalism and bankers. The results are unanimous. People all over the world from Canada to Portugal, the UK, and especially in France, turned out there in the hundreds of thousands to show their support for globalists and centralization. Ask yourself, in this pro-globalism climate, do you really want to be holding Bitcoin? Out of the ashes of the 2017 Bitcoin bull market comes first sorrow, then anger.
The only good bug is a dead bug.
Taking responsibility for the 2017 bull market, central banker man resigns. His successor, central banker woman, outlines her new strategy.
To fight Bitcoin, we must understand Bitcoin. We can ill afford another 2017.
Would you like to know more?
Responding to the 2017 Bitcoin bull market, government regulators all over the world worked around the clock, trying to find ways to hinder this thriving, unregulated economy. Some in the alternate media say Bitcoin does not need to be regulated because it is trustless. It's regulated by math, and its attributes can't be arbitrarily influenced by third parties, which enables immutable real-time auditing. So why should you choose government currency over Bitcoin? Why? Because of the heavily regulated environment that prevents any wrongdoing in the fiat currency system. As a result, you won't find any big financial institutions with records of fraud and criminality. And those that do slip through the net are hit with fines, which are a small fraction of the money they made committing the fraud. Nothing reduces moral hazard like the threat of a small percentage fine that can be deferred to shareholders and spending a day getting softball questioned by a government committee. This is the reason why bankers are still the poster boys for trust and not Bitcoin. A banker responsible for billion-dollar frauds was tried today.
Guilty.
Sentence, a slap on the wrist fine and a telling off. Hearing tonight at 6 p.m. All networks, all channels.
Would you like to know more? Federal scientists struggle to explain the intelligent military actions of the arachnids.
When a colony reaches a certain size, it gets smarter.
Insects with intelligence? Have you ever met one? I can't believe I am hearing this. Frankly, I find the idea of a bug that thinks offensive.
Would you like to know more?
People point to the growing censorship of the alternate media and free speech by payment providers such as PayPal, Stripe, MasterCard, and Patreon as one of the main reasons to buy and use Bitcoin, because it provides a medium for uncensorable payments. Whilst on the surface, this may look like collusion between establishment, big finance, and big tech to squash free speech. In reality, these actions have taken to protect you from reckless individuals in the alternate media distributing hate speech and fake news that poisons our society and threatens our beloved centralized institutions. In order to help you navigate the new rules on hate speech, we at the Federal Network, in collaboration with Big Tech, have created a helpful list of what constitutes hate speech to ensure you don't come foul of the rules. So remember, as long as you stick to these arbitrary, selectively applied rules, payment providers won't have any reason to take away your income, meaning there's no reason to buy or use Bitcoin, now or in the future. Government officials and progressive think tanks warn that environmental devastation from Bitcoin's energy use could be unparalleled. Judging from early estimates, it could leave millions dead, cities in ruins.
Goddamn bugs whacked his job.
Government scientists predict that the energy use from the proof-of-work mining algorithm needed to ensure the decentralization and security of the Bitcoin network could be the final straw that tips the world into exponential global warming. In this federal network dramatization that looks at a future economy based on Bitcoin, nothing lives in what were once beautiful natural habitats filled with fluffy animals. Wildfires sweep across the land, burning homes, killing millions, and displacing millions more. Ecosystems are in ruin. This will be your future if you continue to use and buy Bitcoin. on the pretext of environmental destruction, socialists and progressives voted unanimously moments ago to mobilize against people making a lot of money off Bitcoin. However, moments ago, Bitcoin bugs defended Bitcoin's energy use, stating that any energy use is not wasted if it is actually providing a function that is hugely valuable to civilization in multiple different ways. In addition to this, they pointed out that Bitcoin's energy use is actually less than that used to create fiat currencies and run the legacy financial system, multiples less than that of gold production, and countless times less than that used by militaries all over the world. But is this really worth the risk? What if one day, thanks to Bitcoin, we don't have enough energy left for trillions of seasonal Christmas lights? Is that the future you really want to risk? So there you have it, 7 reasons why Bitcoin is a scourge sweeping the globe and why you should never buy or use this terrible sound money and network. Instead, pledge allegiance to bankers and the globalist elite by holding your money in fiat currency. Because remember, government money is good money. And join the fight against the Bitcoin bugs and do your part to help the corrupt, entrenched global elite retain their power of the global economy.
What mysteries will the brain bug reveal? Federal scientists are working around the clock to probe its secrets. Once we understand the bug, we will defeat it. We have the ships. We have the weapons. We need soldiers. Soldiers like Private Ace Levy and Lieutenant John Rico.
Come on, you ape! You wanna live forever!
We need you all. Service guarantees citizenship.